So as you can see, it is snow on the ground. My family is outside playing in the snow, and I have 3 trays of, let's go see what they're doing. I have 3 trays because I want to fill all 3 trays with soil blocks because I have some more seeds that I need to start. I did not plan. The snow is like super hard. It's more of ice than snow. Oh my goodness. Look at the Greenstalks. They're completely filled up with ice. Let's look at the garden. Wow. This is the first year my garden has ever seen snow. Surprisingly, well, I guess not surprising, but it's actually warm. Ooh, so warm in here. I haven't been in here in a while. But let's look at the broccoli. So we actually have broccoli heads forming. That's really the only one I see. This one is small, and so is that one. Oh, there's a small one right here. But this is what I came in here for, was the soil. I don't have gloves on, so my hands are cold. So Anaya went to go get me some water so that I can moisten the soil. It's not super dry, but it's just not super wet as either, so that I can make soil blocks. I'm gonna make 1 tray of these 20, I think they're 3/4 of an inch, and they can fit 15, which is 300 seeds that I can plant in this. This is the one with the mesh bottom. If you watched my previous seed starting videos, I've already started 2 trays, which is 600 seeds. Most of them were flowers. I want to say about 3/4 were flowers maybe, and then 1/4 was brassicas, so that was like cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbages. Oh yeah, and then some peppers as well. It definitely wasn't half and half. I think it was like 120 peppers, cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli, and then the rest was flowers. And then I'm gonna do 2 trays of these 4. They're 4. Here she comes with the water. The reason why I'm doing these is because the peppers that I started definitely more than a week ago. I started, they were probably, I wonder if it's going on 2 weeks, but anyway, I started sweet peppers and most of them have begun to germinate, and I planted probably up in some of the seed. Some of them I started like maybe 5 seeds per soil, and you can see that these are so tiny for me to start like 5, and most of them have begun to sprout. And so I put this little insert right here. That insert is the 3/4 insert that these make, and so I'm going to begin separating my peppers, and this is gonna be my first year trying to do it this way, where you put the insert in. I've had this big one before, but I don't remember ever starting seedlings in it, and I definitely never up potted from the 3/4. So this year I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do fill this tray. I don't know how many this tray is going to fill because I've never done it this way, but I'm going to fill 2 trays worth and then try and separate my pepper seedlings that have begun to sprout so that I could really get a good idea of the ones that didn't sprout. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I did not start my pepper seedlings in this. That's wrong. I started my pepper seedlings in peat pots, and I'm going to try and up pot them into these into this and see how that does. Usually I always start my peppers or up pot my peppers, no matter how I start them. I up pot them into little 2.5 or 2.25 inch pots. But this year I'm going to try it differently and do soil blocking. I'll see how many I can fit inside this tray. Usually in a tray like this, once I up pot my peppers or tomatoes, I can fit about 32 in the tray. So we'll see if that's the same thing for these soil blockings. But let's get started. We made it back inside. My hands were really cold, so I enlisted the help of Jonathan to help me make the bigger soil blocks. I have 2 of each of the soil block makers, so he made 1 tray, I made the other tray, and then I also made the mini ones, which you guys saw. So they're all done now. Let me show you, give you an update on my pepper. So these are what my peppers are looking like. You can see some are still just now germinating, but then I have a few that haven't germinated yet at all. And then these are my spicy peppers. They need water. They're still trying to germinate. They're starting off way slower than my sweet peppers. It's very much a winter snow day, and we don't get too many of those here in South Carolina. I think the last time it snowed in coastal South Carolina, I want to say it was 2018. I'm not really sure, but it was definitely a long time ago. So I'm taking this opportunity to start seeds that I wanted to start, but I was going to wait because I actually had to work today, but they canceled everything because when it snows in the South, everything closes. So I have 2 types of calendulas that I'm going to be starting today. I have this is just a regular organic calendula, and then I have a pink surprise calendula from M.I. Gardner, and each of these soil blocks are 20, and so I'm doing 20 regular calendula, pink of the sunrise, and then I have a bunch of statuses. I have rose, yellow, purple, blue, apricot, which is the only one that has a picture, and then I'm doing the champagne bubbles, pink poppy. I'm doing lobelia. This is not a cut flower. It's gonna be in like a hanging basket. And then I have verbena, which I am gonna use as a as a cut flower. It grows 3 to 4 feet tall, and it is a perennial. That's what that one looks like. Then I have larkspur shades of blue. I started some other larkspur the last time I seed started with you guys, but this larkspur shades of blue was in a different area, so I did not start any of these. So I'm doing the larkspur shades of blue. I'm doing just regular echinacea. Oh yeah, I also had white statice. So I have 6 different types of statice that I'm starting. And then I have Sweet William. This is a tall double mix. I did start some Sweet William, but I don't remember if it was for hanging baskets, because I started some what is it called? What are those? I can't think of it. I started some flowers. Most of them are cut flowers, but then I did start some flowers to go inside of my Greenstalks. And so I can't remember if the Sweet William I started was for cut flowers or for my Greenstalks, but these Sweet Williams are for cut flowers. They're a tall double mix. And then I did start dill, but it was only 5. This time I'm going to start 20 because you can use them as a cut flower also. So altogether, that is 300, which fits exactly this tray. This tray has 15 sections, and each section is 20, which gives me 300. I haven't wrote down my name tags yet, so I'm gonna write down my name tags. The bigger ones that I made, my plan was either to use them for, because all of the, not all of it, most of the flower seeds that we started together have begun to sprout. So I know I have some larkspur in there that have sprouted. I do have some eucalyptus, some pepper started, brassica started. So my plan for those was to take the like bachelor buttons and stuff like that that have sprouted, and then put them, because you can take the little square and then put it right into the indention that we made for the bigger ones, or use them for my pepper seedlings. But as I just showed you guys, my pepper seedlings are still they're still, some are still sprouting, and so I want to give it like probably to the end of the week. This is the beginning of the week, and so I want to give it some more chance for any more that's gonna sprout to sprout. And then if they, at the end of the week, if none sprouted, then I can begin to separate them and see which ones have, like, do I need to replant or anything like that, because there were a few that germinated but not as many as I hoped, and so some of those I'm going to be like starting again. I want to make sure I have enough of the grape peppers that I like. So if you're interested, this is the book that I use to start all of my cool flowers. I'm starting majority of the cool flowers that are in here. There's probably like 4 that I do not have seeds for, that I'm not starting. I wasn't interested in growing, but for the most part, all of the flower seeds that I'm starting are from this book. I have linked this book in previous videos. I'll link it again. Most of these flowers can be direct seeded right out into the garden, which I did try in the fall, and I told you guys about that. The only ones I got to germinate were Bells of Ireland, and I did get another one to germinate, but I can't remember what the name is. That was fall off my own, because a lot of the seeds were do not cover, but then my drip irrigation wasn't working and I didn't realize, and then it broke, and by the time I realized it, we didn't get rain for like a month, and it was a whole big thing. And so not a lot of the seeds that I direct seeded outside, and they were old seeds, so I don't know if that had something to do with it. But I want to get better at direct seeding flowers instead of like outside in the fall. But since I didn't do that, I am soil blocking and seed starting them in here, and then some of them just you need to start indoors and then transfer outside. The ones that are in the book that I am starting are the calendula, the larkspur, the dill. Status is not in the book as a cool flower, but it actually is. I think somewhere else it's listed as a cool flower. Echinacea is not in there, but I'm also starting echinacea. Sweet William is in there. Poppy is in there. And then verbena and lobelia is not in there, because lobelia is it's not a cut flower, it is one of the trailing ones, and then verbena is perennial, and I don't actually know why it's not in there, but it says it's a cutting flower, hardy and heat tolerant. So, and it does say to start 10 to 12 weeks before my average last frost date, and I am right at I think 10 weeks from my last frost date, so that's why I'm starting that one. Oh my goodness, this lobelia is, I don't even know if you can see that. There's literally like nothing in there, so that's interesting. I don't even know if I have enough sprinkles. I mean, there is more than 20 seeds in here, but they're so tiny that I don't even know if I can get them to go over 20 soil blocks. I'm gonna try. So I separated the ones that do not need covering. So the poppy does not need covered, Sweet William, the verbena, and the lobelia did not need covering. Everything else needs to be covered. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to plant the ones that do not need covering, which is just 4, and then everything else I'm going to plant on top of the soil. Then I'm going to get a little more soil and then just cover them. That's what I did with the other seeds that I started that needed to be covered. Some I tried to like move the soil aside and just cover them, and then some I just went and got new soil and sprinkled on top, like with my broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. So that is what I'm gonna do. I'm worried about this lobelia because it's such a sprinkle. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. Okay, I'm gonna try. Okay, we shall see. That's all gone. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this snow day in South Carolina, which is a very rare occurrence, but we did get lots of stuff planted. Sorry this video is a week late, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video.